Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 27. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. This Victory Monday, the Pittsburgh Steelers defeating New England Patriots 21-14 Sunday in Foxborough, the team's first win in New England since 2008. Not the prettiest win, but take a win any way you can get it. Pittsburgh now 2-1 on the season as they get ready for their Dublin trip over to Ireland. Dave, how you doing?
Gloom, despair. Oh, wait.
Wrong record, wrong track.
Oh, yeah. They won. Good morning, Alex. Happy Monday to you. Look, as we open every show, kind of a quick 30,000 view feelings of this one. They won. It was a rock fight with one side dropping a lot of rocks, felt like, or not felt like it was. And not the way you draw it up. Here's my initial thoughts on this. It is incredibly hard to win a game in the NFL. And a lot of the focus, obviously, this week will be, thank goodness the Patriots fumbled away and turned over the football as many times that they did, and they did. But within that, those turnovers were forced. That's why they call them forced fumbles in those situations. And, I think after the game, you got the sense from players and Mike Tomlin that, the onus was on to try to get that ball out and go ball searching, ball hunting in this game. And fortunately, in key areas of the game, that ended up happening here. And significant, the Steelers offense outside of the first two drives and the last touchdown drive could not get anything going at all. But the defense, and and probably like you, the more that defense stayed out there, especially in the second half, I thought, man, this thing going to unravel a little, later on in the game. But they made play, unlike in the game against the Seahawks in the second half there, they made key plays in key moments of the game. They didn't make any mistakes really other than, obviously execution errors, but as far as turnovers, the Aaron Rodgers interception, throwing it right to ball magnet Bob Spillane, they didn't make any really big significant errors in that game, but they came away with the victory there, and that's what the goal is week in and week out. And they don't. I looked at the standings last night before I went to bed, and they still have not added a style points column to it. So you take that and you learn from your mistakes in this game, and you did so by getting a win. And now you start getting ready for the trip overseas and play the Vikings. So a win is a win is a win, right?
It is, and the word or words that I use to reflect on this game that you talk about all the time is rock fight that you mentioned. Of all the rock fights, this was one of the rock fightiest games, because this was just do it by any means necessary. It wasn't pretty, but a win is a win. Hard to find in the NFL, especially hard on the road. And the Patriots are a good team. They're well coached and they're moving in the right direction. So it's not the Patriots of the last 2 years that were kind of easily walked all over. What it comes down to for me from that 30,000-foot view is simply red zone play. Pittsburgh, despite many offensive warts, were 3-3 in the red zone. They've scored touchdowns in all but one possession in the red zone this season. The Patriots were 2 of 4. And not only were they only 50%, they had 2 turnovers there inside the 2-yard line, forced by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and really by Cam Hayward, the tipped interception end of the first half, and the goal line fumble that Peyton Wilson recovered in the end zone. Those are the difference makers in the game. You are stealing points in those moments, and in a 7-point game that turns the tide, and Pittsburgh continues to be the NFL's best team in the Mike Tomlin era in those one-possession games. I cite that stat a lot. A lot of analytics heads will say that's all luck, and there's due for regression to the mean, all those models and stats, but Pittsburgh seems to find a way to win those close games at a rate other teams do not, and that played out again Sunday in Foxborough.
Yeah, you can get into semantics. Did the Patriots give the Steelers the game, or did the Steelers take the game from the Patriots? I mean, once again, and look, I think overall, and we got an email about this, after week one that man, you guys are so negative that and forget that the Steelers won, and I wanted to get that out front there in the opening that. Wins in the NFL are hard to come by. Even, I mean, look what happened with Cleveland and Green Bay. It is an any given Sunday league. Look at all the one score. Adam Schefter had a interesting, didn't he? Tweet this morning about one score games and what is? Let me see if I can find that real quick.
About how many were won in those final couple minutes of last night.
Yeah, Sunday featured 7 NFL games in which the game-winning score came within the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, the most such games in a single day since 1970 merger per Elias Sports Bureau. And there's probably more parity in the league now in the last several years than ever before. And yeah, you're still going to have your bottom feeder teams. Man, you got 4 or 5 teams that are still 0-3 on the season. Right now, you got just a handful that are 3-0. But this isn't any given Sunday league, and any win that you get, no matter how you get it, is an earned victory. So no matter what the tone that we take for the rest of this podcast, it is important to keep in mind that this team did win an NFL game, and they won one against an AFC team that potentially you never know how these things are going to shake out too. And I thought this and tweeted this last night, Alex, was this win over the Patriots could loom large later on in the season, especially if the Steelers don't win the AFC North and it comes down to some tiebreaker situations to maybe potentially get a playoff game. And head-to-head wins matter, obviously, big within that. So you take the win and you learn from it and you move on to next week.
All right, Dave, let's do our annual Monday housekeeping presented by our friends over at touringplans.com. If you're planning a trip to Disney, any of the Disney destinations, Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Cruise Line, check out touringplans.com, and they'll be your co-pilot for any trip in terms of how to save money on the trip, restaurant reviews, park times in terms of when it's most packed and whenever it's least busy to help just plan everything out. So it's a really good resource. They've been a friend of the podcast for our training camp coverage and now into our Monday housekeeping segment that we'll get to in a second for the Steelers. So just want to shout them out. And again, check out the website, touringplans.com.
Yeah, great app, great Twitter feed as well too. Even if you don't have their site bookmarked and all, if you're on Twitter and follow them, they obviously tweet out different articles and all. And if you got anything related to Disney, and that includes cruises and anything imaginable, make sure before you do any booking whatsoever, you go to Touring Plans and get a jump on your itinerary and things that you want to do that way.
From a housekeeping standpoint for the Pittsburgh Steelers, one roster move was made Saturday. Running back Trey Sermon was elevated to the active inactive roster. Also, offensive lineman Max Sharping was placed on injured reserve, reportedly suffered a torn ACL during Wednesday's practice, was of course ruled out for this game, and then transferred to IR. His season will end. He was inactive for the team's first 2 games. Pittsburgh, to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, only has a 52-man roster right now. There is an open spot because Sermon was elevated, not signed to the 53, so we'll see how they fill that spot. You imagine that'll happen shortly. Overall, Pittsburgh's inactives for the game, Joey Porter Jr., Alex Highsmith, Deshaun Elliott, all three out with injuries. 2 healthy scratches. Offensive lineman Andres Pete as that 9th offensive lineman, and defensive lineman Esezi Otomewa. Derek Carman, the rookie, making his Pittsburgh Steelers debut and probably playing more snaps than at least I expected in this game. Running back Caleb Johnson was active. I don't believe he played, though, a single snap. He did not return kicks. It was Kenneth Gainwell and Trey Sermon. From an injury standpoint, Pittsburgh, clean bill of health overall, seemingly coming out of this game, which is extra good news on top of a win. Darius Slay had a leg contusion per Mike Tomlin. Derek Carman rolled into him early in this game, chasing a screen. Tomlin also mentioned Broderick Jones, maybe getting hurt and dinged at some point, but he played. He finished out the game, so he should be good for the Minnesota game in Ireland.
All right, a little bit of a surprise there. I would have this was another situation where I would have lost a lot of money after Trey Sermon, and we both thought that might be the case with him being elevated on Saturday there from the practice squad, and based on some comments that Mike Tomlin had said earlier in the week about not in the near future as far as being a kickoff return guy. I would have bet you dollars to donuts that Caleb Johnson would have been inactive for this game, and that Otomewa would have got that final helmet there, especially with Derek Harmon coming off of injury and ending the week listed as questionable and supposedly being on the snap count and all like that. So, and then we also talked about if you're not going to play Caleb Johnson on special teams, and if you are going to elevate a guy like Trey Sermon, it didn't make a lot of sense to put Caleb Johnson in a helmet. After the fact, even though that's the way that they went with deciding to dress Caleb over Otomewa, basically, I understand in the rearview mirror, especially some of the comments that Mike Tomlin made to Bob Labriola in their weekly sit down before the game. I think he wanted to kind of punish him, but not punish him. And evidently, I would like to think that Caleb Johnson had a good week of practice overall, and instead of just flat out putting him in street clothes, at least put him in uniform, let him go through the weekly warm-ups and all like that. And Tomlin probably felt pretty confident about where Derek Harmon's health was, that he did not need the extra defensive lineman dressed for that game in Otomewa. So, in the rearview mirror, I guess I understand overall why Mike Tomlin did that. But the fact of the matter is Caleb still did not get in the game overall. And Trey Sermon, even though he was elevated, did not. I don't believe played any offensive snaps. Only played on special teams there. So that's I hit 4 of the 5 inactives this week. And if I had to do it all over again, I think I still would have put Caleb Johnson on my predicted inactive list there.
And Sermon only 3 special team snaps, which I think were just kick return duties. So he's a multi-phase special teamer, but was not used or was not needed in the team's mind in this game. All right, Dave, let's talk about this game. 21-14, Pittsburgh Steelers win despite Pittsburgh forcing 5 turnovers and racing out to a 14-0 start. Unusual for this team. It was a dogfight all the way in the second half. Dealer's choice. Do you want to start focusing in on the offense or the defense?
Let's start with the offense. We only have 49 snaps to talk about.
It felt good. You always have the saying that the engine was running good on the whatever it was, Coca-Cola number 8 until the wheels came off. In Pittsburgh, first quarter, they dominated time of possession. They were leading that. I made a comment about that, how they were trailing in time of possession and in plays in the first 2 games. It was good to be on the other side, and that all went away after the first quarter. Another first drive touchdown, though, which is good. 2 times in 3 games. That didn't happen a single instance last season. It was a good opening script. Everything, the 80% in the middle was terrible. Then the final drive, Aaron Rodgers hitting Calvin Austin on a back shoulder throw, or kind of a, back shoulder throw. It wasn't the most perfect ball from Aaron Rodgers. He admitted as much after the game, but a touchdown nonetheless to Calvin Austin in the game's final minutes. So, thoughts on the offense, Dave?
All right. I guess we call that a non-intentional back shoulder throw. And if Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have said anything, would we have even probably known it? Because when it happened, I thought, oh man, you can't put that ball in any better spot. But when you do look at the release that Calvin got off the line, beat his man. There was room in the back of the end zone. I would imagine if you hooked Aaron Rodgers up to a lie detector test, he would tell you that it would go off as him lying if he said that was an intentional back shoulder throw, just based on what he said. He probably meant to put that out over the top. He talked about Calvin's fast and but made a good adjustment on the ball, and that's a testament to Calvin Austin too, and someone that we've talked quite a bit about in these first 3 games. That he's making these contested catches, and I think that he showed on that touchdown in particular that he could adjust on what I guess technically would be a poorly thrown ball. But even though, once again, if Aaron hadn't have told us, I'm not sure we would have had much of a talk about that. All right. As far as the first 2 possessions go, you get the turnover there, and Putos, points off of turnovers, thing that we've talked about in the past. It's good to see this offense take a turnover, go down the field in 8 plays, and get the touchdown there. I think the one of the things that stuck out to me is they were able to run the ball early on these first 2 possessions with some success overall, and the touchdown in particular to Gainwell on that toss out to the left side. If you go back to the Jets game, almost kind of the same situation, same personnel, little different formation, a nice little wrinkle there off of the pop pass to Jonnu Smith, and it's nice to see little wrinkles like that because you've got you adjusted the formation a little bit. You had the same personnel out there, same area of the field, going the same direction there, the same motion of Jonnu Smith. Now you have 2 different things on tape that gives opposing defenses something to think about moving forward here. And both of those plays ended up in touchdowns. So I think that's the thing that stuck out to me the most about the actual touchdown was that was a little bit of a wrinkle off of the pop pass to Jonnu Smith in the game against the Jets that also ended in a touchdown. So you bury the drive there. You come out the second time that you have the football off of a punt, and hey, put together a 12-play, 70-yard drive. Now there was 20 yards in penalties within there. That whole drive, that was a drive that kind of started off deep too, right where kind of the weird play with Aaron Rodgers, and they got the penalty on the play. And New England helped along with a couple of penalties in that drive. But hey, if they want to shoot themselves in the foot with those kind of things, you got to take advantage of it. They did, and then it obviously that drive ended with a very nice touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers to who was that one? DK Metcalf there overall. So you're up 14-0 at that point. You're thinking, all right, maybe we'll be able to breathe a little bit in this one.
But Steeler fans know it's never that easy, and I think I even said it on our group chat, this warm's going to turn at some point, and it did from there. So what went so wrong the rest of the way? Because the offense literally did nothing. I mean, gifted turnover after turnover. I think at one point they'd gotten 3 turnovers and 1 combined yard off of those midway through the game. I mean, it just got really, really ugly in the middle. The running lanes went away. Rodgers struggled, was inaccurate through the brutal interception to Spillane. So what changed?
They could not run the football. First and foremost, the passing game, they couldn't really get anything going down the field. The Steelers ran 29 plays on offense after their first 2 possessions of the game, Alex. 3 of those 29 plays were kneel downs. Those 26 other plays resulted in 84 net yards, which is a little bit more than 3-point-something yards per play. Aaron Rodgers did have, and I think that was part of the second drive, the throw to Jonnu Smith there, but throughout the game there, they just could not, due to pressure and him wanting to get the football out and being in third and longish type situations overall. They just could not get any rhythm going whatsoever on offense. Aaron Rodgers complete just when you think it couldn't get any lower. Aaron Rodgers completed air yard distance in this game, according to Next Gen Stats, was 2.0 yards, and his intended air yards wasn't much further than that. So thank goodness he completed the two or three red zone passes that he did in this game, or two red zone passes for touchdowns in this game, because everything else that Aaron Rodgers did try to throw down the field wasn't there, and most of his plays, I think there were. Hold on a minute here, and I'll tell you exactly. On the 9 of the 16 pass completions that Aaron Rodgers had versus the Patriots, the pass did not go past the line of scrimmage in the air.
Wait, can you repeat that? You're saying 9 of his completions did
Nine
not go
of his
past?
9 of his 16 completions in this game did not go past the line of scrimmage in the air.
Yeah, it was a lot of quick game, screen game, some RPO game, and that was one issue. That was the only thing Pittsburgh really had on the menu after those first 2 drives. No run game, no vertical shots. Rogers mentioned Seattle playing a lot of too high looks last week. He mentioned that with New England this week. I've not had a chance to dive in the all 22 and see exactly how the Patriots defended things, but that kind of feels like the book on Pittsburgh right now. Play too high, take away the deep ball. Pittsburgh has not shown they can run the ball effectively against those 7-man boxes, those too high shells. And so if you take away those components, it doesn't leave Pittsburgh with a lot else to work with.
Right, and you're not seeing a lot of balls completed far down the field. Overall, you're not seeing a ton of stuff to the middle of the field. Overall, with this offense right now, look, I thought we kind of wondered if this would be a Jaylen Warren game, and it was. And in the first couple of drives, obviously Jaylen Warren did his part, and he made some nice other plays. I thought later on in the game, Aaron Rodgers talked about that play that Kenneth Gainwell had on that final touchdown drive in the second. Well, it was a second and long situation that got, like, I guess about half of it back, right? In that situation, that ended up being a key play in this game on offense. But you get past those first 2 drives, and and look, Aaron was as truthful as Aaron could be, both in the post game interview with Evan Washburn and post game press conference as well too. He wasn't overly sharp overall. And he said for it felt like 30 minutes he was just sitting on the sideline, and it did feel like that. I mean, especially when you look at these possessions there. After the first 2 drives, they went 3 plays. They only really had 3 true possessions in the first half, because the final one was a kneel down there. And then in the second half, they went 3 plays. Obviously, the third play was an interception in that opening drive of the second half. 3 plays, 5 plays, 9 plays on the touchdown drive to put them ahead, and then the final final possession was just two kneel downs there. And I thought for sure we were going, if this were to be a loss, Mike Tomlin would have said possessing the football, right?
Yep.
And that's just something that they weren't able to do overall. Time of possession in this game, 26 minutes 40 seconds, and had they not had the turnovers, obviously, it's kind of hard to win those type of games if you're not putting points on the scoreboard. But they put points on the scoreboard, as you noted, when they were down there in the red zone there, 3 for 3, and that along with the turnovers was a key component to this game. Overall, they did go 4 for 9 on third downs. In this game, I think most of those came in the first 2 drives and in the touchdown drive. So thank goodness for that. But the offense has just got to get better. There were moments with the offensive line moving some bodies early on in this game, but once you got past those first 2 possessions, they couldn't run. They were going. They kept ticking down some of those net yards in rushing. In the second half, a lot of negative plays when it came to the running game to through most of the second half.
It's just crazy to see that script flip because Pittsburgh came out with a good plan. We talked about the 2 touchdowns. End of the first quarter, Pittsburgh's holding the time of possession advantage, 10:55 to 4:55, and then from there, it's a complete 180. I think the rest of the way, New England outsnapped Pittsburgh 62 to 32. The TOP was obviously a complete inverse. So New England adjusted. Pittsburgh couldn't really adjust back, and we'll have to really dig into the tape to see what those adjustments were. Obviously, the turnovers and ineffective run game, top of the list overall. But on the positives, it was a win. Obviously, want to focus on that. Warren ran hard all day long, all game long, even when the lanes really weren't there. We talked about they're probably going to feed Warren for this game. Warren was kind of the bright spot in the offense in week 2. They're going to lean on him in this one. Thought the distribution of getting Warren involved, a little less of Gainwell was good for all parties in this one. And then, finishing off those drives were just really critical. The fade ball to Metcalf, the touchdown to Austin, which was a great release and a great adjustment by him. Austin's growth and maturation of making some of those tough catches that he wasn't making early in his career. These last 2 seasons have been really heartening to see in Pittsburgh on the season, Dave. 7 of 8 in the red zone, 87.5%. That's number 2 in the NFL entering Monday Night Football. Pittsburgh's been in the 20s in red zone rankings for the last several seasons since 2021. They've been ranking no better than, I think, 23rd. And so to be, even though it's early, this number certainly can change. 1, 2 failed attempts can skew these numbers and change these numbers pretty dramatically. But to be 87.5% in the red zone is a really key number to finish drives. This team has simply not finished in quite some time.
Thank God for 7 shots, right?
Yeah, and that's not an accident. As Tomlin talks about, they emphasize situational football in training camp. It's a big component. They start every day with 7 shots, the ball in the 2. And it's funny, on the inverse, Pittsburgh's defense forced 2 turnovers with the ball on the 2-yard line in a literal 7 shots type of situation. So it all kind of comes back and it shows the application of it. At least it did yesterday.
For the season right now, Aaron Rodgers has 586 yards passing. He's obviously through 3 games there down towards the bottom third of NFL quarterbacks when it comes to that. Here's a somewhat stat of the weird for you. Aaron Rodgers enters Monday night tied for the lead in touchdown passes with Caleb Williams of all people. Now, Lamar Jackson has 6 and Jared Goff have 6, and they obviously play later on tonight. But Aaron Rodgers right now tied for the league lead in touchdown passes, and thank God he is.
Yeah, you'll take it. Pittsburgh has not had that in quite some time, obviously, and my bar has been to get to 25 passing touchdowns as a team for a season, and Rodgers has as good a chance as anyone in the last couple of years in Pittsburgh to do so. So other thoughts on the offense, the offensive line. I'm a little mixed on pass protection. Rodgers not sacked. I think only 3 official quarterback hits for New England. Those baseline numbers do look good for a Patriots team that led the NFL with 9 sacks. They have a talented defensive line. I'm still struggling to maybe give a ton of praise to the offensive line. Still felt like Rodgers was under some pressure, had to get the ball out quick a couple times because of that. Obviously, after that first possession, little to no movement in the run game. The Patriots defensive line were getting upfield. They were penetrating. They were disrupting the track of the Steelers run scheme. So what do you come in on the performance of the offensive line in this game?
Yeah, and I don't want to make any hard decorations here because I've watched like 6, 7 plays off of the all 22 on the offense so far. But 2.45 seconds time to throw for Aaron Rodgers, obviously with the shorter passing game in this one. And we already talked about 9 of the 16 completions not going past the line of scrimmage. That's going to obviously play heavily into that. He enters Monday night when it comes to week 3 as the 3rd quickest time to throw stat in here, and it's hard to imagine that when you got two quarterbacks in Goff and Lamar Jackson that he's going to lose that third place ranking for week 3 here. But once again, his completed air yard distance was just 2 yards down the field, and his intended air yard distance was 4.6 yards down the field, which is obviously extremely low. There was also the stat that uh, that was the first game that he started and was not sacked in since when?
Think week 13 of 2022, you had said. Now, granted, he played all the 4 snaps in 2023, but point taken, it's been a minute since Rodgers has been a clean sheet, to use the soccer term, in a game like that.
Yeah. So, thankfully he wasn't sacked. He did take a couple of hits in this game, but not as egregious as the previous 2 weeks here. But I just think this is, uh, I'm not sure how much he's trusting his offensive line at this point.
Yeah, there's certainly been some skittish feelings in the pocket. I'm not sure if it felt as evident in this game as the first 2. I'll have to go back and watch the tape. I mean, Rodgers himself just was not great in accuracy and decision making, and of course moving this offense. But it was enough to get out with a win, and you made those plays late, and it was a really good check on that Austin touchdown, the 3-by-1, Austin's backside, cornerbacks playing inside leverage, trying to take away the slant, and Rodgers talked about giving a little signal to Austin, I assume, to kind of get his route vertical. Great release by Austin, and that ball is probably supposed to be out in front. I think that's the why Rodgers said that ball wasn't really a great pass by him, kind of probably more over the shoulder in front of Austin with the DB trailing, but made the play, made it work. And that's all that really counts.
Yep. Yep. Look, I mean, once again, uh, 3 for 3 in a red zone, 2 of those being passes from Aaron Rodgers, a nice wrinkle on the first touchdown to Kenneth Gainwell there. You've got to bury, burying those drives was, goes without saying, a big difference in the game, especially thanks to the defense taking the football away.
Yeah, early on, the run game looked really creative and inventive and was messing with the Patriots' eyes and keys. There was one, and I got to go back and watch it, where half the line went left. I don't know if that was an RPO or just window dressing. There were some really big lanes and runways being opened up. The Gainwell touchdown, the fake jet that you mentioned, the toss to Gainwell was really creative, and it just kind of went away from there. So Pittsburgh had a really good plan and script in this game. They just could not counterpunch once you got past that part of the game.
Mm-hmm. They got to start possessing the football more on offense, especially way this defense, and we'll get to that part a little bit. You can't have these long stretches of games where you just go on 3 plays. It just you can't have it.
Yeah, it was a game where you let New England hang around. You're up 14-0. You're getting takeaways, and you just can't get that extra score that at least made it 2 possession. Once New England made it 14-7, you got a kicker that can hit from 60 plus, and you just couldn't get in range to even get a chance to go up, say, 17-7. That gives you a little bit of breathing room, and so that was disappointing. Some other thoughts here. Pat Freiermuth, not a great game for him. 1 catch, 6 yards, 3 targets. Again, some scramble rule drill issues where he should have settled. He got too bunched up on the sideline. Rodgers visibly frustrated with him. I forget if that was on 3rd down or not.
That was
I
a third
think
down.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're having the scramble drill issues with Austin last week that led to a pick. Freiermuth this week that led to a punt. So that's still things that have to get cleaned up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the overall pass scheme, just not getting those vertical shots. It's hard to get DK Metcalf involved. 4 targets, 3 receptions. He did have the touchdown. You want to see more involvement, better scheme to get him more touches than 3 in a game.
How many? What does PFF have yards after? I mean, this team continues to be very, very reliant on yards after catch.
Right, and Metcalf showed a bit of that early in this one, and that was good. But
the screen out to the left, and yeah.
But I mean, the offense just really went into a hole for that middle 80% of the game. I like to refer to the first 2 drives were good, the last drive was good. Everything else in between was forgettable.
I'm trying to find a yak in this game. 107 yards after the catch, and they had how many passing yards in total?
Not much more than that. A buck 39 total
Uh,
for Rodgers.
there you
139.
go. I mean, for 3 weeks in a row, man, you're highly high. And once again, you don't want to discourage yards after the catch, right? But this offense has been super reliant on yards after the catch so far. Heck, Jalen Warren leads this team still in rushing after 3 weeks, and Jonnu Smith, are not rushing, receiving. He leads in rushing too, but Jalen Warren leads this team in receiving yards after 3 games, and Jonnu Smith leads the team in receptions right now.
Yeah, that's not ideal. It's been and Jonnu Smith's yards per catch is what right now? I know he had a 21-yarder on third down, which was a nice play downfield, but what's his yards per catch on the season?
Let me get that real quick here on
It's not great.
Johnny.
7, if that.
5.4 yards per reception for Jonnu Smith. DK Metcalf or Calvin Austin leads the team in average yards per catch on his 8 catches with 15 point, or actually Skoranek does, but it's just one catch for
Mhm.
22 yards there. But uh and they still, let's see, they had two runs, two more runs of 10 or more yards against the Patriots. That gives them 3 for the season. They still don't have any, 20-yard or more runs on the season, and I believe they only had one explosive play reception in this game yesterday as well too.
That was the Jonnu Smith 21-yard reception, yeah. Otherwise, longest play of the game for Pittsburgh's offense was the Austin 17-yard touchdown. Pittsburgh on first down on the season, 4.3 yards per play. That is, I think, 25th in the NFL. So a number that still needs to be addressed and improved upon, obviously.
And it goes without saying, Aaron Rodgers is last in the league in completed air yard distance.
But enough to get the win. Offense did enough in this one, and so there's still some positives to take away from here. Defensively, Dave, more positives to look at. Even though the defense wasn't perfect, still some communication issues. The run defense, much better. And of course, anytime you're forcing 5 turnovers, especially 2 in the low red zone, really on the goal line, those are massive. And so the defense is the reason why Pittsburgh won this game.
Yeah, and within that though, man, New England had a 17 play drive that fortunately Cameron Hayward had a hell of a ball game, right? Cameron Hayward, I thought, had a hell of a ball game. That interception down there deep, if he doesn't get a hand on that, that's going to be a touchdown. He impacted the flight of the ball, and it gave Eccles time to get underneath and make the interception on that one there. And look, I mean, they 17 play drive ends in an interception, and they also had a 15 play drive that ended in a touchdown in that game. So they were able to move. I thought Drake May, for the most part, played a very good game. He sprayed the ball all over the place there. He used his legs very effectively. One thing that was disheartening when it comes to the Steelers overall is they gave up 6 of 13 on third downs. Some of those third downs, I think they gave up a 10-yarder and like a 13-yarder converted. And then, New England went for 5 fourth downs in this game. They were 4 for 4 up until the final one, which ended up being another great play by Eccles, which I think you noted last night that he came off of his man to make that play, and a nice open field tackle in that situation. One of those early fourth down plays was like a 4th and 1 deep in the Patriots' own end, and it looked like Holcomb, had him dead to rights,
Yep.
on that pitch out to the left side there. but it looked like he might have lost his footing a little bit within there. And how big would have that had been had you got the turnover downs deep in the Patriots own in that situation there? But
Because that was a 17-play drive, right?
yeah, yeah. They and I think was that the one that they did convert like a 3rd and 10 and a 3rd and 13. I can't remember specifics on that. I haven't memorized the play by play just yet on that, but that was a big play. And once again, they were 4 for 4 on 4th downs up until that final 4th down stop by Eccles in this game. Now the Steelers did hold them to 2 of 4 in the red zone there. Big takeaways in those situations, and I think it was evident that they were ball searching in this game, and uh, they were able to get the ball out, and the turnovers in this game goes without saying were a key factor in this game.
Most turnovers Pittsburgh's forced in a game since I think I'm getting the stat wrong in my head here for a moment, but what was this? Well, last time Pittsburgh forced 5 takeaways. Is that the Bengals game to open the season, I think in 22? I want to say I'm getting my own stats of the weird mixed up here, but
I don't remember.
Either way, been a minute for that. Last time Pittsburgh's defense, specifically the defense, recorded and forced 4 fumbles, 1992 against the Detroit Lions when Barry Sanders lost a pair and Lions quarterback Eric Kramer lost a pair in a Pittsburgh Steelers win. So they forced 4 and recovered 4 against Tennessee in week 2 of 2010. But there was 1 on special teams that day and then 3 on defense. So it's rare to get 4, no matter how you get them, 4 forced fumbles and recoveries. But Pittsburgh, as you said, ball searching, players like Cam Hayward post-game talking about, we knew the tendencies and the weakness in New England. They were not a ball-secure team. Remember running back Ramondre Stevenson, their top back, had a bunch of fumbling issues last year. That was not forgotten for this year. And so he lost a pair of them. Gibson lost 1, and then Drake May fumbled 1 in a crucial moment forced by Nick Herbig. There is, I think, it's moot and it's not worth getting into the weeds of, but on the Peppers forced fumble, I think TJ Watt knocked that out, and I believe you said they actually gave Watt the credit for the forced fumble. Okay,
yeah,
so
I haven't gone back to slow that down. I did relook at it last night, and I did double check the stat book just to make sure that Watt still has credit for that, and I believe he does. Let me look this morning here. Yeah, Watt still got credit for that forced fumble that Peppers was in on.
So it's Holcomb, Watt, Herbig, and Hayward with the 4 forced fumbles in this game, but still a great play by Peppers to come down in the hole and take out the legs. And then Watt, I think, came in over the top and punched the ball out as he always focuses on doing. So again, you talk about the application of training camp, red zone, 7 shots for the offense, for the defense, ball searching. It's a common phrase the players will call out, coaches call out in training camp. And that's a great job by those guys to execute. And all those takeaways were sorely needed.
Yeah, look, in the past you heard about defending the blades of grass, right? And they certainly, as bad as it got, with allowing them deep down in the red zone and all like that, there were still blades of grass to defend, and they defended them. And you want to talk a little bit about some individual performances in this game. Once again, I thought Cameron Hayward played a hell of a damn game in this one. TJ Watt finally got off the snide and got a couple of sacks in this game. Derek Harmon played 35, was it? Snaps in 35. This game.
More than Y.A. Black. He played, which I would not have guessed that.
Right. And, I haven't gone deep into the tape, but what little I have looked at on that, Harmon, I thought played a well of a damn ball game. And Cam Hayward talked after the game that, he was worried about his conditioning in that, but he stood up overall in that. And I think Cam Hayward talked about the hand usage on that. And I think our own Ross McCorkle has a nice little clip of some of that. And I'll tell you this too, Derek Harmon looked a little bit bigger than what I remember. Did you think, hey, did that ever cross your mind yesterday when watching the game? Man, he he looks a little bigger than what I remember him. Now, it's obviously been a couple of weeks since we've since preseason and all like that. But he look he uh for a guy coming off of the knee injury, was limited in practice 2 days this past week, and then full, and then having to practice with that brace on. I didn't look. Was he wearing that brace yesterday? Do you remember?
Ooh, I meant to check. I have not looked specifically for that yet.
All right. He looked pretty damn powerful overall. He was chasing after the football, and yeah, they probably went into into that game with the idea that they were going to limit his snap count. But I think as the game wore on, they thought, hey, he's looking pretty damn good out here. So they just let him stay out there overall. So I thought he had an impactful game. I thought Herbig had some nice rushes in this game. I thought Watt obviously did. I thought Patrick Queen played a pretty good game coming downhill overall. Real physical, more physical game involved in several plays in here. When you talk about, let's see, who else positives within this one?
Well, just to focus, I think the Stars played like stars, and they had to.
Mhm.
And I thought Tom Mead made an interesting point in his weekly post-game Tom's 10 Takes article, which everyone should read post-game, that this was the third game for Watt and Hayward, neither playing in the preseason. So it's kind of like they'd gotten their legs under them the way that you would if you played a couple preseason games. That third game, you have 3 preseason games, now you finally feel like you can kind of put things together. But Hayward had an elite game, 36 years old, still balling out. The football IQ that guy has is just off the charts. The situational awareness, end of the half, 10 seconds left, down to 2. You know the ball's coming out quick. You're unlikely to get to the quarterback, go read the eyes, be a volleyball player, get a piece of that one. He batted down 11 passes last year. He had the tip against Seattle on 4th down that Herbig picked, the tip this week that Eccles picks off. So many little things on tape that guy does that really elevates him to a whole nother level.
Yep, indeed. I don't think, and I think even Mark Cabali said this. I don't know if he said it in an article or on the radio or whatnot. I don't think we're too far away at this point now from YA Black taking even more snap. I thought Aquale, in the little bit that I've looked at on tape, I thought Aquale over the nose gave this team some good snaps. Uh, Benton, I didn't think it was a great game once again for Keanu Benton as a base nose tackle in this one. I wonder how far away we might be from YA Black uh playing nose, and the front being Hayward, Black, and Harmon. I do wonder at this point if we're going to start seeing more of that moving forward. There, Benton just continues to kind of get pushed around and then down on the ground on some into some plays there. So I think they need to get that shore up. I thought Holcomb for the most part had a pretty good game. He missed that tackle on that fourth down. Wasn't able to make the tackle on that, and obviously got beaten coverage, I think, a couple of times there overall. But and look, you look at the stats overall against the run, they still gave up 119 rushing on the day. Now Drake May had 45 of that overall, and one of those on it was, I think it was a third or fourth down. TJ Watt was held on that on the edge over there. Call it what you will. They missed that one, but May had 45 of their 119 yards. So if you take 45 away from 119, what does that give you as far as
Yeah, I'm
the
trying to do
running backs go?
the quick math here. I think it's 74 yards by the running backs on 22 carries. That's 3.4 yards per carry, along of 11. I mean, that's a good day
Right.
work, good day's work for a Patriots team that certainly wants to run the football and has 3 capable running backs. Not to mention the forced fumbles. You force 3 fumbles on those running backs too.
Right. It gets skewed a little bit, obviously. Now, look, quarterback mobility is a big part of the NFL, right? You got to, that you got to be able to handle that part. They didn't do that so much, and that's what's kind of scary. Look, those happen in some kind of weighty moments on top of it there. So they got to secure up the quarterback mobility aspect of it. One of them, Harmon, I think, just Harmon had a pressure and then let May get a and May's going to be expected to win those with his youth and experience. Maybe if Harmon takes a little bit better outside angle on that, at least forces them back inside. Maybe that changes there. But I thought for the most part they did well against the run. And look, you ripping the ball out like they did from those running backs. That was a key component of the game as well too. So I thought up front, the front seven overall, it was a pretty good game. Now, when you get into the back end there and the passing game specifically, there's still a lot of things to get cleaned up over there. I think it's kind of forgivable on that wide open touchdown to Hunter Henry, because you're coming out with a pressure and you're counting, you're betting that you can get to the quarterback before you can get that ball away, right?
Wait, you have to specify which wide open Henry touchdown, because there
Yeah,
were two of them in this game. The first one.
The first one.
Okay. Yeah, that was run blitz. You're expecting run. I mean, it sucks, but I can forgive that one more than I can forgive the second.
Right. Now, the second one, and I put up a couple of steals on this one, and maybe you want to go more in depth of what you saw on that one there on who had what. But you've got there's good look. I mean, it's obviously a blown assignment of some sort within that, and specifically you've got Queen. And I mean, the ball is just barely in Hunter Henry's hands at that point, and you got Queen and Peyton Wilson looking at each other.
Instead of doing almost the Spider-Man meme,
Yeah,
point
like
at
they
each
got
other.
the hands out there, and then I think one of them maybe looks back at who was in the slot there, Ramsey, I think in that one. What did you see happen there?
I have not seen the all-22 clip yet. My initial belief is that's on Peyton Wilson. I think Pittsburgh's in cover 2 there, and Wilson has to be that middle hole kind of pull runner down the seam, and he ends up getting overlapped in his zone with Jalen Ramsey and kind of that hook zone that Ramsey's in. I don't know if Wilson either blew his assignment or the eyes moved him or whatever the case was, but from my initial thoughts was that's on Peyton Wilson.
So red Tampa 2.
Yeah, just cover 2, and
He's supposed
Wilson's
to
that
carry the
middle hole
hole.
defender, carry that seam route. Yep. I mean, it looked like cover 2's too high shell. It looked like Queen and Ramsey were in the right spots, those hook zones. Again, I got to see the all-22. I literally have not seen even a single clip of that yet, so I have to go back and watch it. But I think the TV tape showed a good enough perspective that Wilson's on top of Ramsey essentially in that zone, and so that's a zone overlap that cannot be.
Yeah, look, Hunter Henry had a hell of a damn game. The tight ends overall in this game for them, and I think they only had 2 in uniform, didn't they? Henry and Hooper. They combined for 10 catches for what is that? 118 yards and 2 touchdowns, obviously. And once again, I can forgive the first touchdown to Henry because the other team's paid to pick those kind of things up and win, and they did in that situation there. But the second one was very inexcusable, and that was a third down, was it not?
There's a fourth down. There's a
Fourth,
fourth and 2.
okay, 4th and 2. All right, so man, if you get the stop in that situation there, a huge play, and obviously a blown assignment in that. Other than that, they used yeah, I mean, you hold Butte to 2 for 28. Hollins, you hold for 4 for 27, even though he had a key. Was it a third down? Third and long catch, I think, in this game. You hold Diggs to 3 of 23, even though one of those, I think, was a key third down play in that. The guy that beat you in this game was Hunter Henry,
Yeah, the tight ends, Hooper and Henry.
Yeah,
Mostly Henry.
The 2 tight ends and the mobility of Drake May were the key components offensively that allowed the Patriots the success that they had in this game. And then once again, I thought May, for the most part, did a good job of spreading the football around. Now, he did make obviously some key errors in this game on top of it there, but he was able to spray the football around the field and downfield, and specifically to the tight ends.
Yeah, New England 10 of 18 on possession downs, and that's just way too efficient. And all but one of those, or all but one convert. How am I saying this? They converted all but one fourth down, and that was the big one at the end, of course. And so you don't want to hand wave that away, but a lot of fourth down stops. I thought Pittsburgh was ready for those fourth down moments. We talked about New England. They're not just a tush-push team. They're going to put the ball in the perimeter on fourth down. They ran that kind of inventive perimeter run with Henderson off the fake tush-push look a couple weeks ago. They ran speed option with Stevenson in this game. They ran some boots, and they just weren't a run straight ahead type of outfit on fourth down. And Pittsburgh was generally in position and took some of that stuff away, just could not make those plays. Let's zoom out though, Dave. With this defense, there were personnel changes for really the first time this season. Pittsburgh making some depth chart, moving and shaking. Cole Holcomb playing a ton more, played in most, if not all, the base situations, even some in nickel. Him and Peyton Wilson ultimately had about a 50-50 split at inside linebacker. Jabril Peppers, like Cole Holcomb, playing in base situations. I have to kind of see exactly where those snaps were siphoned away from, kind of a mix of people, and probably more Chuck Clark, a little bit of Juan Thornhill too. And so those were, I think, two big changes in this game, was Holcomb and Peppers playing substantial snaps.
Yeah, Peppers played 43 defensive snaps after playing 0 after last week against the Seahawks there. I liked look, until Peyton gets his head screwed on a little bit better, you probably need to continue to decrease his snaps a little bit here. Now, when will this team get DeShon Elliott back? That will be a plus. Chuck Clark would like to have that missed interception back, I'm sure. Went right through his hands. That was a bit of a gift that they didn't take advantage of in that situation there. When one negative, when James Pierre had to come in and play 9 snaps, he was bit or got bit on a kind of an in and out over to the side over there. On one of those completions and obviously James Pierre is not going to see any snaps. If you have a healthy bunch, we'll see if this team can get Joey Porter Jr. Back here soon. So, you had a bunch of guys that probably weren't used to playing together out there, a lot of snaps once again, right? But for the most part, I like the personnel changes. It's just that those guys hadn't played a lot of snaps together.
Yeah, I don't think there was an issue of the newness of the group. It felt a little better communication-wise. The Henry touchdown, the second one, was an issue. I don't know if there were a ton of other communication issues beyond that. Nothing that I can recall involving Holcomb or Peppers or really even Pierre. But it was good to reduce some of Peyton Wilson's workload, a role that was more similar to last year and more sub-package snaps and pass-down snaps than it was some of the early down, run, heavy personnel type stuff. That was Holcomb's duty, and he played well. Forced the fumble, obviously, on the opening possession, and so that was a big impact play that he's been known to make. In coverage, Pittsburgh's still missing a good coverage linebacker despite athleticism in Queen and Wilson. Those guys have not done a great job in coverage. Holcomb getting beat too, but I'm less surprised by that overall. But overall, it was just good to get the infusion of some different people in there and some guys playing some good football overall, I think, in Holcomb and Peppers.
Would you, at this point, if Porter's not 100%, if DeShon Elliott's not 100%, and look, nobody's ever 100% once week 1 kicks off, probably overall there, but it would be nice to get those guys. It would be nice to be able to make it another game without those two, to give them time, and then the bye week, and then come out of the bye week with your hopefully your full complement of your defense, right?
That would be ideal, but if they're cleared and ready to play this game, I'm playing them. So just, right. I know Tomlin's going to do the whole practice participation will be our guide thing this week for those guys. Porter, Elliott, and Highsmith did not practice at all last week. You would have liked them to get some sort of work in, but we'll see if they can get back for this game. Highsmith, I'm sure, probably will not. Porter and Elliott, you might have a chance on those guys.
I mean, Eccles had to play 62 snaps in this game, 84% overall, and he did give up a couple of completions and all, but he did, of course, have the interception and the key fourth down stop.
Yeah, and like I said, that was not his responsibility. I don't know exactly what coverage that was. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to look
I
at it from
haven't
the
looked at it.
All-22 view. It was a six-man zone pressure, a three-deep shell, two backers underneath, and that was there for the taking. Douglas was there, and Eccles did a great job to come downhill and make that open field ankle tackle. It was a really nice job. Good rally by Queen that might have influenced Douglas as well to kind of take a step back and not be able to get upfield immediately, but I mean, that was Eccles making a heck of a play, and he's been a really good addition. I wouldn't call him Deshaun Elliott value, at
Right.
least not yet, but it's kind of that similar feeling of a guy that just kind of quietly signed, got overshadowed by other big additions, and has been really key, not just for his play, but his versatility. He can play all three cornerback spots, inside, outside. Has had a really good training camp, and has given Pittsburgh depth they've needed early on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 9 missed tackles in this game, and for the amount of snaps, that's not overly egregious. I don't think they did have what's as far as the tackling go, they had what's regarded as stops, 26 stops in this game on what was it, 70? How many? 74.
71 total plays for New England.
So, fairly good, good, percentage rate overall, I guess, when it comes to that. And once again, Cam Hayward, I thought really, really played well in this one.
He did. I thought Harmon played well, as you said, played more than expected. But when New England's running 71 snaps, everyone's probably playing more than what is ideal in those moments on those long drives. And he was up to the task. And so that was really encouraging. Surprised he played more than Y.A. Black, but just kind of shows how excited they are about Derek Carmen and how much he's impressing them early on. There was one miscue, but overall, I thought the four-man rush was good in terms of rush lane integrity and keeping May in the pocket. You look at the sack that Harmon had, that was a really good coordinated rush. The forced fumble that Herbig caused, a good coordinated rush. I know May got on the perimeter on some of those boots, but on kind of the traditional drop back game, the four-man rush can be tough to plug all those gaps with a mobile quarterback like May. I thought that rush was really good to be disciplined, contain, constrict, and finish.
And I think Watt owes Herbig a steak dinner for one of those sacks of Watt's, because Herbig had a nice rush on that one.
Oh, which one was that? I guess the
think,
second one that Watt
yeah.
had. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I Herbig was not great against Will Campbell early. Campbell was consistently sealing him up the arc, but as that game went on, kind of second quarter on, Herbig, whatever he was doing, I got to see exactly what changed. He was rushing a lot more effectively and really was started to cook Will Campbell, who's a number 5 overall pick, franchise left tackle potentially for New England, and Herbig was winning repeatedly later on in that game, and of course had that big strip sack fumble that Watt recovered.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts here for the defense off the top? Yeah, the run defense looked good. Aquale, you mentioned it, I think had a good game. Benton, maybe not as good. I thought Benton looked a little bit better first blush. We'll have to go back and watch, but a little better hand use, a little more effective getting off of blocks. So
I thought the best part of Benton's game was maybe a couple of those pass rush snaps. And once again, I don't want to draw any hard conclusions because I haven't gone through obviously much of the all-22, but I think it's the same old thing with him against the run. Let me ask you point blank: is it time to make that to give with Harmon coming back and all? Is it time to put Y.A. Black and Aquale more over nose in the base?
I need to watch Benton's tape from this game. I mean, the run defense seemed better overall, so I would assume Benton's play was better. I think it's less about Black because he's not been playing a lot of nose, a little bit, but not much. And they'll like him at defensive end to rotate in behind Cam and Harmon now. So if anything, it'd be more Aquale. And I think Aquale certainly played well in this game, but I got to watch the tape before I make that declaration on any depth chart changes.
All right.
Any other thoughts here for the defense, Dave? Anything else, big picture that we're missing?
No, you just hate to see them. I think the big aspect of this game were some of those third downs, and then obviously 4 of those 5 fourth downs. That was if you got to get off the field in those situations there. And look, the Patriots helped the Steelers out early with penalties and all like that. And once again, quarterback mobility, you'd like to see them be able to handle quarterback mobility better than they did in this game. But when you boil it down, I think to the success that the Patriots did have when they weren't putting the football on the ground, it was going to their tight ends and the Drake May mobility. And then once again, the third down situation there.
Some other thoughts that Jack Sawyer in limited action played well. DeMarvin Leal was active and thought had some decent run snaps, and so that was good for him to get his first snaps of 2025. And any other thoughts that I have here? I think that kind of runs the initial gamut, Dave.
Yeah, we'll get more into the all 22 breakdown, obviously, on the Wednesday show once we've had a time to fully digest that. What'd you think about special teams Sunday?
Less eventful, which I guess is a good thing. It's been eventful in a positive and negative way for Pittsburgh. Positive in week number 1, negative in week number 2. I think the big takeaway that I have was the kick coverage was excellent in this game, which was not a great area the first 2 weeks. And New England ran back a 90-yard kick against Miami, a big reason for that win. And in this game, 4 returns, average of 23.5 yards, along at 26. So I thought they were excellent in terms of getting downfield, getting off of blocks, making tackles. 2 dangerous return guys in Henderson and Gibson, 2 good athletes, a lot of speed, a lot of pedigree and performance there. And so I think Sawyer had a tackle. I think Peyton Wilson had a tackle. It was really, really clean to get New England to start between their 25 and 30, which is kind of the ideal range I think you're looking for under these new rules with touchbacks going back to the 35.
All right. Waitman, 4 punts, 169 yards, 42.3 average, along a 55, 3 inside the 20.
Yeah, and 1 rolled out at the 6, which was good. I think one of those inside the 20 was at like the 17 or 18. You would have liked that to be backed up a little bit more, but overall, a good performance from Waitman. I thought Pittsburgh won the field position battle overall.
What point of the game was it that they decided not to send Boswell out there? And did you agree with that?
Yeah, that would have been, a 62-yarder? I forget the exact situation that was. It just depends on how he kicked in pregame warmups. You do that pregame, you kind of figure out what your max distance range is and what the wind conditions are. Now, Boz is certainly capable in a vacuum from hitting, I think, from 62 or 63, but I thought they were going to kick it and go for a field goal there. They punt, but I don't have enough information to really probably critique that or not.
All right. I'd asked that Boswell not be asked to kick a lot of field goals, so I got my prayers answered there. I would have liked to seen about 3 more extra points be needed from him in this game. But yeah, I thought special teams rebounded from obviously not a good week against the Seahawks.
Dave, neither team attempted a field goal in this game, just extra points in this one. That has not happened in a Steelers game where neither side attempted a field goal since the 2005 regular season finale against the Detroit Lions. So
Wow.
It's been a long time coming that neither team even attempted a field goal. Only the second time since 2021, Pittsburgh has won a game in which Chris Boswell did not make a field goal, joining last year's Commanders game. So winning without Bos, you love Boz, you love that he's there for you, but you want to be able to win without relying on him every single time, and that was good to check that box today.
All right, what other unique stats of the weird come out of this one?
Yeah, Pittsburgh forced 2 takeaways inside their own 2-yard line for the first time since at least 1978, as far back as the play-by-play from PFR StatHead goes. They're the first team to do that in the NFL since the Seahawks in 2022. What else? Pittsburgh had as many first downs via penalty as they did via passing, 5 apiece. TJ Watt now has the active record for most multi-sack games. He has 32. That broke a tie with Myles Garrett, so we'll one-up Myles Garrett there. And I think those are kind of the big ones overall. Jaylen Warren, as you said, leads the Steelers in receiving yards. If that holds true throughout the entire season, which is unlikely to happen, and we hope it does not happen, he'll become the first Steelers running back to lead a team in receiving yards since, as everyone knows the name, Bill Davidson in 1938. So I doubt Warren ends up on top for the year, but that is one stat to watch. And as I said earlier, Pittsburgh, their defense, specifically the defense, forcing and recovering 4 fumbles for the first time since November of 1992 over the Detroit Lions.
DK Metcalf's on pace to have 760 something receiving yards for a season. Where is he going to hit 900? Is he going to hit 1,000?
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of keeping that in the back of my mind about our predictions, kind of our dueling
I'm
thoughts
keeping it in the
on
front of
Metcalf.
mine.
Yeah, and on the mic too. We'll see. He's gonna have a big game at some point though, where he
Right.
goes for $120 or something. But yeah, the last two games, less involvement. Want to see that guy get more involved for sure. Defense is using that too high shell. I'm sure they're really, shading coverage towards him, but it'll be on Arthur Smith's shoulders to find ways to free him up more.
All right, let's go over a couple of snap counts in this game once again, and mostly on the offensive side of football here. Johnny Smith outsnapped Pat Fryermuth 45-38. Darnell Washington, and I have not looked at personnel groupings yet. Just 20 snaps, 37% for Darnell Washington in this game. Roman Wilson, 9 snaps. Now, once again, you're under 50 total snaps for the game. They rolled Spencer Anderson out there in some extra offensive lineman looks.
Yeah, they had, I think, a one example of that against Seattle in the 2-point play. That was a very training camp type rep that they had there. So, they're trying to get some big people, but I still think Darnell Washington should play a bit more for a
I
run
do
game
too.
that, especially when the run game was flailing. I mean, he's not going to solve all the problems, but I wrote about that before this week that Mr. Smith should go to Washington. And so I don't love seeing that snap count feel pretty similar.
Connor Hayward, 1 offensive snap in this one.
Yeah, I have no idea when that even took place. I'll have to go back and watch. So it's certainly been, Johnny Smith and Fryermuth. I mean, Smith's making some plays. Fryermuth, though, 1 catch for 6 yards. I know Rodgers was pretty bad. They didn't possess the ball a ton in this game, but that's pretty light production.
All right. Defensively, Cameron Hayward, they were able to keep him under 75% of the snaps with 55 total snaps in for him.
You know what, a forgotten play, this may be what I choose for my weekly article that highlights this, and I'm trying to find exactly when this was. I think actually I just found when it was. The Jonnu Smith fumble that went out of bounds. Man, if that's a
Right.
turnover there, 1st and 10 at the Steelers 35, opening up the 4th quarter, it's tied at 14. I don't think he did it. He might have done it intentionally. Smith kind of felt like he batted the ball a little bit as he's kind of on his back.
Did it hit a Patriots foot too that helped with that?
I thought it was recovered in bounds. I'm still trying to figure out what the ruling was on that play. Was the Patriots player out of bounds as he recovered it? Did they say the ball touched out of bounds? I'm not 100% sure what the determination was to let Pittsburgh keep the ball, but at first blush, I thought New England had cleanly recovered that.
Yeah. I did too live, and I haven't gone back and I watched obviously the replay of it last night on the TV tape, but I did not spend a lot of time on it. I remember thinking, did that go off of a Patriots leg on top of it there? But yeah, at first blush, I thought, oh man, what a turnover there.
Yeah, I don't know if Smith had batted it or if it went off of a foot that caused it to kick towards the sideline, but a game of fumbles nearly went against Pittsburgh in that moment. And even though Pittsburgh did not score on that drive, just not giving New England that kind of short field, basically in field goal range, was massive.
All right, they won.
They won. So 2-1, tied with the Bengals. Ravens play tonight. They can, of course, go to 2-1 if they beat the Detroit Lions. The Browns picking up a win. Any other AFC North or just NFL thoughts over the weekend, Dave?
Boy, the Vikings boat raced the Bengals. I have not gone back to watch hardly any of that. I did see that that defensive back had a hell of a damn game for them. Had the pick 6, and didn't he have 2 touchdowns?
He did. Isaiah Rodgers, a pick 6
yeah.
and a fumble recovery touchdown.
Right.
He just took the ball away from Fant, ripped it out, and ran it back.
Yeah. So and Vikings with Carson Wentz looked going to be a tough matchup this week over in this weekend over in Ireland there. All right, shall we get to some emails here?
Yeah, let's do that and close out today's show. Just one quick NFL thought. Really tough day for former Steelers running backs yesterday. Najee Harris tearing his Achilles and James Conner suffering some sort of season-ending ankle injury that happened about an hour apart. Harris first, followed by Conner. Harris had never missed an NFL game in his career, and he just stepped out of the backfield and went down. A horrible
Yeah.
sight. And same with Connor, gets carted off. Both players emotional. So your heart goes out to both those guys.
Yeah, done for the season. Two former Steeler running backs. Wasn't a good day, obviously, for former Steeler running backs. So prayers up to them.
Real quick, your thoughts on Russell Wilson? Is he going to start again? I don't know what the heck that goal line sequence was at the end of the
Phew.
Cowboys or the end of the game last night. I mean, he just throwing him in the third row.
Yeah, don't even give you guys a chance to make a play on that. And, Giants fans are done with him at this point. And at 0-3, I don't think Russ is going to make it to the 6 or 7 games that we're hoping for
Right.
compensatory type stuff. It's only a matter of time. And at 0-3 and in that division, in that conference and all, they're not far away from pulling the plug on him. We'll
Yeah.
see if that's in week 4 or not.
All right, Dave, let's get to some emails and close out today's show. No live stream tonight, by the way, part of our normal schedule. So just a reminder there.
All right, there's going to be a lot of negative in this, okay? So here we go. Shane Glass, first-time listener, long-time emailer. At what point do we worry about the coaching staff's ability to develop players? Benton and Wilson have seemed to regress. Broderick Jones hasn't put the pieces together, and Joey Porter Jr. wasn't as good in year 2 as his rookie year. Is it a pattern to worry about, or am I being too impatient? I'll hang up and listen. All right, Joey Porter obviously has missed the last couple of games here. So let's I thought Joey Porter's been let's throw Joey Porter out of the talk there. Broderick Jones still isn't looking great, even though the last two games haven't been as egregious, and I think the focus is on Benton and Peyton Wilson here. Look, it's not great. Wilson coming out of last year was seemed to be on the trend, obviously upwards there, and he obviously has not had a great start to this season. Benton has been very disappointing. So, at what point do we worry about the coaching staff's ability to develop players? My short answer would be let's continue to watch how this season goes. But I think without a doubt, when it comes to Benton and Wilson, uh, my general feeling is that until those guys show a little bit more, that they should play less.
Yeah, that's fair. Overall, I think it's fair to be concerned about the development and the overall pattern of guys that seem to do well early on and then fade as they get into their careers. Broderick Jones had a good rookie year in that half season starting for a core 4. He's regressed since. Wilson, we've seen regression. Benton, probably fair to say, you've seen some regression this year. But it's also worth watching as these guys still grow and figure out their game and get used to larger roles. Let's keep watching. So I'm with Dave on the overall sentiment.
Jason Chadwell writes in, better to be lucky than good. Hi, Dave and Alex. The Steelers were definitely outplayed, and it took all 5 turnovers plus a lot of penalties in the first half just to squeak out a win. I'm sure you guys will hit on these points during the show. How many times did the Steelers offense find themselves in 2nd and 12? Might as well punt on 3rd down, he says. The Steelers pass defense, but especially to the middle of the field, is non-existent. Lastly, look at the creativity by McDaniels. Steelers offense couldn't even imagine having such play calls, even though they won. I don't see a positive outlook for this team. All right, the lucky then good aspect. I think I don't want to get away from the fact that I could talk. Sometimes you got to make your own luck a lot of times and ball searching getting that ball out. Now, there is that luck component of the way the ball bounces sometimes that plays into it, but let's not lose sight of, in order, they call it forced fumbles for a reason within that there. Now, look, were they, I guess for the most part, outplayed on both sides of the ball? Yes. But once again, when it comes to the defense, as we talked about, the success that the Patriots seem to have was on a couple of those 3rd and 4th downs. Obviously, the play to the output of the tight ends, and then Drake May's legs played a key component in this. I mean, they won the rock fight.
They did.
Is the best way to describe this. They won the rock fight.
What was the overall question? Why was why does New England have better coordinating and play calling and scheme than Pittsburgh?
Yeah, look at the creativity by McDaniels. Steelers offense couldn't even imagine having such play calls. Look, it's hard to evaluate a Steelers offense that's getting the ball out as quickly as they are when they're not having the success. When you add on top that this team just cannot get any continuity with the run game until they get this run game going, like it was, and then have continuity past just like the first two drives that we saw against New England. It's going to be like pulling teeth trying to get this pass offense going.
Yeah, I want to take a good look at this offense because again, the opening script was really creative. It was really successful. It got 14 points, and so Arthur Smith is doing something right to cobble together a game plan that was effective. But you struggled to counterpunch. New England answered back, and you really didn't have a way to respond and stay ahead of that chess match. And so that's the concern. But I think as Dave said, we'll keep watching. But that offensive line just has to play better, and
Yeah.
it's not taking the steps that it needs to.
Chris Warren, big win. I'm thankful the Steelers snuck out of Foxborough with a win. By the way, first time since 2008 they have won on the road against the Patriots. But I was frustrated with our ability to cover the Pats tight ends. This is a reoccurring thing. Do you guys think this is a scheme problem? And might we see Jalen Ramsey covering the tight ends more once Deshaun Elliott and Joey Porter Jr. are back? By the way, I am Ireland bound, flying out Wednesday night. Here's hoping everyone is healthy and we finally get to see some of that historic defense we've been waiting for. All right, props to you, Chris. Enjoy your trip. Have a safe one out there. Yeah, they had an inability to cover the Pats tight ends. What do you think about when they get this team healthy, having Ramsey covering tight ends more?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, health has been an issue. Ramsey's having to play on the outside more often than I think Pittsburgh's initial plan was. I mean, I think his role will change week to week depending on the game plan, depending on what tight end you're facing versus what receivers they have versus their scheme and personality versus your health. And so there's a lot of factors that get involved in that. I don't know if we'll always see Ramsey on a tight end a lot. Maybe against Baltimore in some specialty moments on Mark Andrews, you could, but Pittsburgh could stop the tight end. They just clean up the communication issues, which I know is such a broken record thing to say, but it's not like they're incapable of doing it. Some of this is just, self-inflicted wounds of tight ends being left wide open.
All right, from John D. Stefano, David Alex, happy Victory Monday. Two straightforward questions for you guys. Are the Steelers a well-coached team in your opinion? And number two, is Patrick Queen a below-average middle linebacker? I thought Patrick Queen played, and I haven't, once again, maybe I'll change my tune come Wednesday after pouring through the all 22 three times here. But I thought Patrick Queen played a pretty good game against the Patriots.
I thought he was good against the run and coverage, though. He's getting moved out of his zone too often. He's not good enough in man-to-man, but I thought it was good against the run.
All right. Are the Steelers a well-coached team in your opinion? Well, I'm not at practice. I don't see. I'm not. I'm not there in the rooms and all like that. So I mean, it's impossible for me to tell you how exactly the coach they are. It is discouraging. I'll just put it to you this way. Once again, you've got pedigree offensive line that's just not playing well, and then defense. The overarching thing is the miscommunication aspect of it there. So if you want to take that as a well-coached team, not being a well-coached team, have at it.
Yeah, it's such a big question. I mean, the easy answer is to sit there and say no, because there's a lot of the frustrations and things that have been repeated with this team, especially the communication problems defensively. I think it kind of talks about more certain segments in respects. I think they're good situationally. You talk about the ball searching, the mark of a well-coached team that's able to see a weakness, the Patriots' lack of ball security, attack, and not even just for this game, but just globally how Pittsburgh operates in training camp. See how they operate in 2-minute drills and low red zone play. That's all kind of paid off this year. I think the front seven is generally a well-coached outfit. Now, being coached and executing are two different things. I think the offensive line has not been a really well-coached outfit. So I don't mean to him and haw here, just a big question to say yes or no, blanket answers to those things. It's a little more about the particulars. There's aspects that are well coached. There are certainly aspects that are not well coached. And so you keep watching throughout the season and see how much better things get coached up.
All right, Jeff Burns writes in, still gelling. Hey, Dave and Alex. Brace yourselves, terrible listeners. Despite the win, you're going to hear Downer Alex this week when he reviews the tape. No offense intended, Alex. You guys are objective and impressive tape reviewers, and that's why I listen to every show and donate. Do you guys think this team is still putting it all together? Lots of new players, injury, growing pains, etc. Or is the fact that this team has not had a complete victory from all three phases in what feels like years more an issue with coaching than personnel? So another kind of coaching related thing there. He does say, do you guys think this team is still putting it all together? Short answer is yes. I still think this team's trying to put it all together. Lots of new players in. I think this team is still trying to put it all together on the defensive side of football, because that's obviously where their injuries and all have been. On offense, you can't put it on injuries or anything really like that. They're not that offensive line is not gelled. They're just not looking good on offense, and you wonder what putting it all together looks like for this offense.
Fair. Defensively, certainly you can make that case more with the injuries and some of the moving pieces and the coordination needed there. That defense is certainly putting it all together. How good can it be? Can everything come together and Pittsburgh get a blowout win? Probably not. They don't win in blowout fashion. They barely win by more than one score. It's just not their MO. The offense has had less quote unquote excuses, but still new quarterback who arrived in June, new leading receiver, new number one running back, new pieces, in a lot of respects, they were still trying to gel and mesh together. So I can still offer a little bit of grace here early in this season, but obviously this performance must be much better. That hot start was super disappointing and deflating from what came after that. And so Rodgers must be better. The line must be better. The receivers must be better. There's no question about that.
All right, Braden Miller, happy Victory Monday. I know leading up to this season, you guys had mentioned the possibility of extending guys like Joey Porter Jr. and Keanu Benton if their play warranted giving them more money for future seasons. It's still early, but with Benton's play being shaky to begin the year and JPJ barely seeing the field thus far, is it crazy to consider Nick Herbig as an extension candidate after this season? There's a lot of money tied up into the edge room as it stands today, but the dude simply makes clutch plays at clutch times. I personally would love seeing more Badger sandwiches in the backfield beyond this season. Do you think the Steelers would prioritize having a rotation of three studs at the position for a couple more years? Brady, I don't think it's crazy at all at this point, because right now, and look, we got a lot of football left to play. Joey Porter Jr. be interesting to see when he comes back. I think regardless, you're going to try to extend Joey Porter Jr. this offseason. Barring him just not being able to stay healthy and his play being bad. Keanu Benton, that's not looking good for an extension after this season for him. And then the question becomes, who's left to extend, and where, how much cash are you going to spend? I could very well see at this point Herbig getting an extension before he hits free agency.
I would love that. I just wonder, is this going to be a Bud Dupree thing where they just can't pay all these guys and Herbig wants to go become a clear-cut starter somewhere and get paid accordingly? And I was watching the game last night, and I'm not on Alex Highsmith has been a popular name about trading him and all those kind of schemes and ideas people come up with sometimes, but I was watching Herbig just dominate last night and say, man, will Pittsburgh have to eventually make a decision on which outside linebacker do we want to remain a Steeler for the long term, Alex Highsmith or Nick Herbig? So those are decisions down the road, don't have to be made this offseason even, but I do wonder if that time comes, because I would hate to lose a guy like Nick Herbig.
Yeah, from where I sit right now, from a cash and a cap standpoint, I think they could pay Herbig a nice payday.
But could you pay him what Highsmith is making? Because he's going to want a big money contract. He can go get that on the market if he can become a starter somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a big question. Could he be a guy like my other Wisconsin buddy, over in Minnesota who they'll see
Van
this week.
Ginkel.
Yeah, Van
Right.
Ginkel and all like that. So, still a lot of ball to be played, but, at the very least, I think you try to extend him.
Oh, for sure. You have to open up those talks this offseason and see if he just loves the city. I mean, he loves, I think, being a Steeler and TJ Watt and his role, but he knows that, there's a big payday somewhere else potentially that Pittsburgh just may not be, because you just can't pay Herbig Highsmith money. It's hard to justify that for the snap count. So I wonder if that decision point will be coming at some point, probably 2 off seasons from now, but we'll see what the landscape looks like then.
All right, fair enough. Jeff Berg, fellas, I'm struggling to figure out how Drake May could look like the calm, cool veteran who found at least 9 different receivers and how Rodgers looked like a rookie flustered on nearly every play. Is it, once again, is it the coaching? Is it the players? Seemed like the Pats had 50 completions to wide open tight ends. Can't we just do the same thing, especially with better tight end talent? So much wrong. Will it get better? I thought, look, don't discount those plays that Drake made with his legs once again. And as we went through kind of earlier in the show too, I mean the tight ends was what really cooked the Steelers in this game. That and a couple of the passes to the running backs.
Yeah, why was there a difference?
Drake May looked good, and their offensive line, I thought for the most part played well overall.
And a slightly better running game, I suppose, even though the
Yeah.
New England running game wasn't good even. Yeah, I don't know if it's some newness of coach and coordinator trying to gel a little bit. I don't know how much May played in the preseason. Obviously being at home helps a little bit too, a little more comfort. But yeah, I mean, I think May's an ascending player. He had a great game against Miami 2 weeks ago. Thought he played well overall in this game. Yeah, I did. Rodgers is the mobility factor. I think Dave pointed out is a key thing that helps May keep some plays alive and utilize his legs to get away from pressure and create. So there's a lot of factors overall, but obviously Rodgers has to play a whole lot better than he did. I don't know what he was seeing on the spleen interception. I mean, it's 2 weeks now he's missed underneath zone defenders. It was a drop against Seattle, which was fortunate, and then the pick by Spillane. Rodgers is just kind of having some tunnel vision out there.
Yeah. Are we ever going to see how much more is Rodgers' average completed air yard distance and intended air yard distance going to get better as the season goes on? I mean, we're almost a quarter of a way through this thing right now, and I'm really I kind of wonder how much of this plays into him trusting that offensive line.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, at one point yesterday, the best offense was the old Flacco pass interference offense.
Mhm.
Just chuck it deep and hope you get a flag. And they got a couple of those. His what adjusted net yards per passing attempt is 5.86 right now, which historically, as you talk about, Dave, is not a good enough mark.
All right, 2 more here, Alex. I want to get through a lot of these here so people can't say, well, you asked to email the show. You don't ever read the emails. Christopher Parks writes in, good morning, gentlemen. Love the show. Appreciate what you guys do. Anxious to see the all 22 of this game. Do you think this team does enough mixing up coverages? Seems like the middle of the field is always open on every level. Do they need to jam at the line and mix in some robber, maybe some buzz zone? What do you guys think can be done schematically to help with this problem? Teams can throw quick passes and easily go up and down the field all day. The pass rush never has time to develop. Thanks again, Chris. This is going to be, let us dive through this week's all 22 more, but it did feel like once again just more staticness in the secondary at first blush.
Yeah, I think overall that's fair. I think with this new group that's trying to come together, you're not as deep into your menu and Rolodex post-snap rotations and complex calls. And Pittsburgh's defense post-LeBeau has never been super complex. Anyway, it's been more about predicated on playing fast and playing free and not having to overthink too much. But yeah, it's felt pretty static. And so we'll see if that changes as the group comes together and hopefully gets healthier with maybe Porter and Elliott getting back here next week.
Yeah, it'd be good to get those guys back healthy again and let Jalen float around that secondary there. Maybe we'll start seeing a little less staticky. One last one from Nathan Casey. It's titled Cam Hate. I was not one who begrudged Cam for trying to get more money. Owners do it all the time, going the other way. He is a one helmet Hall of Famer. After that performance, will some of the haters give him his props? Also, is it a coincidence that with Harmon, Herbig, Leal, Peppers, and Holcomb out there, the run defense was much better? He says, I don't believe in coincidences. Will the haters give Cam Hayward his props, at least this week?
If the true haters probably won't. That's just how the internet kind of goes. But doesn't matter what they say. He had a great game, and he's still defying Father Time at 36, and that's all that matters.
All right. Is it a coincidence that with Harmon, Herbig, Leal, Peppers, and Holcomb out there, the run defense was much better? Leal only played, how many snaps did Leal play? 9, 11, something like that. Although I think he was better against the run in the snaps he was out there. Peppers and Holcomb were definitely, as we talked earlier in the show, good to see their snap counts up in this game. Harmon, as we mentioned early in this show, I thought Harmon for the 30-something snaps he was out there was good. I think he's only going to improve there. Cam made a lot of plays just by being Cam, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was good team run defense. We always talk about it's an 11-man job, but no, it's not a coincidence. I'm with you there, the reader. I mean, I think those guys that saw their snaps increase played well, and that'll probably continue as long as the defense keeps playing well.
All right, I think I'm through all of them here, and I think we're about an hour and a half here, so this worked out pretty good
All right, Dave.
overall.
Be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, be back on Wednesday. This team has an open locker room on Monday. They're off on Tuesday. Mike Tomlin Tuesday press conference will happen. Obviously, we'll cover that, and we'll get into what's going to be an interesting week with this team going overseas to get ready to play the Vikings on Sunday. 6:30 a.m. Pacific time kickoff for me out here. I'll be up at like 3:45 on Sunday morning. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, follow the directions, get a username and password, and then log in using the login link to take advantage of the ad-free version of the site. So until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.